Here, undefeated season went down the drain.
Shiz Alston Jr. gives Temple the lead after Sterling Brown broke the scoring seal for SMU. Cincinnati and SMU are the only two ranked teams in the American Conference. Cincinnati with a win last night, and now SMU goes on the road tonight. Those two teams will square off on Sunday. Daniel Dingle fouled by Ben Moore. And SMU with the first foul of the night a minute in. So you're pretty much caught up as to what this game means and the magnitude and scope of it in this conference.
Yeah, a little miscommunication defensively as Dingle not covered on the drive, and Ben Moore kind of gave himself up with that foul.
The redshirt senior from the Bronx at the stripe, third leading scorer for the Owls this season.
He's one of those guys that's pretty indispensable for this team. In the top 10 in the American in minutes played at almost 35 minutes a game, 6th in three-point field goal percentage. He's a guy that Fran Dunphy counts on.
SMU, another blowout win in the American on Saturday on the road at Tulsa. They have just a 7-man rotation, which has been shortened tonight. No Deshaun McDowell, who only averages about 8 minutes a game, but it's another body in that 7-man rotation. So Tim Jankovic has to make some more adjustments. He had to do that a couple of games ago when they didn't have Jeray Foster at UCF as well.
Yeah, that last play is very uncharacteristic of SMU. They usually don't turn the ball over like that and execute their offense. It's just an errant pass. Goes nowhere, and Temple kind of copies them on the other end. Throwing to the invisible man.
With their freshman point guard, Alani Moore II. I'm sure that will not make Fran Dunphy very happy. The head coach and his team has been known as giant killers. Over the last decade, they've had 7 top 10 wins, and they're already 2-3 against the top 25 this year.
Yeah, we referenced those 2 wins. Came back-to-back in the NIT tip-off around Thanksgiving holiday. And how improbable could it be for a team like Temple to beat Florida State and West Virginia back-to-back nights? And considering where those teams are right now, that was some accomplishment.
Here is Ben Moore. Rattles around and out, and Obi Anechionia is there for the rebound. Leading rebounder for Temple. Quick trigger from Dingle. This is a Temple team that relies heavily on the three-point shot. They average 9 three-point makes per game to lead the American Conference. When they knocked off SMU last year, they hit 14 of 29 three-pointers. They were not as proficient in the first meeting between these two teams this year. Moore finds Shake Milton, and good position on the interior by Ernest Aflakby for the rebound.
I would love to have seen Moore, who had the advantage, size, and reach, to go back up strong with that ball down in the paint. Surprised he kicked it back.
Anechionia seeking space, left that one well short. Here comes SMU on the push. Jeray Foster will draw a foul. It'll be against Alani Moore, the freshman.
Anechionia trying to establish his defensive play and be a rim protector, and that time went up hard but created a foul, and he got the brunt of it.
Temple, a team that had a rocky start despite those 2 impressive wins early in the season in non-conference. They went 1-6 in the American to start the year, but they've won 3 of their last 4, including a couple in a row, granted against the bottom feeders of the league in South Florida and Tulane. And they got back to shooting well in their last game against South Florida, a game where they had a very good first half. They shot the ball very well in that game, did Fran Dunphy's crew. One of their best offensive games of the year.
You know, those early wins were pretty indicative of what Temple's capable of doing, but they've got to have everybody playing at the same level, at the same caliber, and I think that was the problem after, you know, the Thanksgiving massacre, if you will. They didn't get enough guys playing with the same type of intensity, it appeared.
Ben Moore with a double team, and Aflakby unable to find a man when that double came. SMU has missed 4 straight field goal attempts. 5 in a row until Milton with that putback gets SMU in front. Here's Shiz Alston Jr., 8th in the conference in scoring at 14 points per game. Late in the clock, Dingle tried to get cute and go behind the back. And another Temple turnover early. And that'll take us to a timeout on the floor. All part of Rivalry Week presented by Wendy's. A heated contest last year when SMU came to Philly.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2017 John R. Wooden Player of the Year, and AT&T.
You know, the Temple Owls, who host a ranked team tonight at the Liacouras Center, had a solid start to the season, 9-4 in non-conference play. They had those 2 really good wins that Len was talking about that he saw in New York at Barclays Center when they knocked Florida State and West Virginia on back-to-back nights. But they haven't had the rotation and the personnel that Fran Dunphy was hoping for. Trey Lowe suffered an injury back in February. He was redshirting this season. Josh Brown only played 5 games while recovering from an Achilles injury. He's had to lean on younger guys. So you take a look at this resume, and people are going, well, Temple's not an NCAA tournament team, and Joe Lunardi doesn't think so right now. But tell me what happens if they win tonight.
Well, again, this is the opportunity. Very few opportunities in the American because it's so top-heavy. You know, besides Cincinnati, SMU is really the only resume builder that most teams have in this conference. You beat them, and instantly you get people's attention. So this is an extraordinarily important game for Temple. It's kind of the gateway to getting back into the tournament conversation.
Shemi Ojale, 3rd in the American Conference and a very proficient three-point shooter, is on the board. Give SMU a 5-point lead. They've scored the last 7.
But it's all easier said than done, as SMU is an outstanding team. They play solid defense. They got a short rotation, but these guys play together, and they don't foul the opponents, so they're not beating themselves. Look at this D right here.
You want to talk about connectivity on the defensive end? That possession kind of epitomized it for SMU.
Yeah, I mean, they know where each other is supposed to be. You know, they have each other's back as solid defenses do.
So now it's 4 turnovers forced by SMU on the last 7 Temple possessions. And they've scored the last 7 points. Here's Ben Moore into traffic. A good job to close out on Ojale by Anechionia. And it leads to an awkward-looking shot for Jeray Foster.
Yeah. That was a 10-footer that went 11 feet.
You know, Lenny, you were talking about defense. SMU has held each of their last 17 opponents during this 16-1 run to 66 or under. They've defended on the three-point arc very well, but that's an Alston 3, his 2nd of the night.
Well, we talked about Tim Jankovic reminding his team of last year's loss, and I'm sure prominent in that reminder was that they have to guard the three-point line. You know, this Temple team is a team, as you mentioned, relies on the 3, and they shoot it very well at home.
Ben Moore with a really good adjustment in midair to at least gather the basketball, and then he ends up drawing the contact from Anechionia for the foul.
Shiz Alston, you see good defense, the high screen. Ben Moore comes out laterally. He's going to have to do a harder hedge, force the shooter a step or 2 beyond his range in order to make that defense effective. You come out laterally, there's enough range out there for Temple to hurt you.
Ben Moore splits a pair at the free throw line. Excellent rebounder, very good shot blocker. Really, you know, a lot of people have talked about Shemi Ojale, but we've seen SMU a lot. You really think Ben Moore might be SMU's most important player this year?
Yeah, I mean, just take a look against Tulsa, their last game. He only scored 4 points. That's because Tulsa was taking him out of the game. but he had 10 rebounds, 5 assists, got everybody else involved. So he's not only, an outstanding player, but he sacrifices himself to make the team better.
Great rebound here, and then he hustled to try to pick up an offensive rebound off the Ojale miss. Here comes Temple down 3. Temple runs a relatively tight rotation as well. This is the first bench man, Quentin Rose, the freshman who's had some big games this year, including 26 in the upset over Florida State.
Yeah, Rose averaging about 11 points over the last 3 games, and he's one of those young men that kind of had his coming out party during that NIT tip-off, where he played so well against both Florida State and West Virginia.
Strong defensive possession by Temple. Second SMU turnover in the first 7 minutes. Rose, they gave him space. Got a good look that time. Offensive rebound from a Flackby, and it's Enechionia hitting the 3 to put Temple in front.
And that, folks, is the best way to be able to knock down threes. Offensive rebounds, the defense is contracted in the paint, and you got wide open shooters.
First meeting between these two teams, SMU out-rebounded Temple by 17. SMU, a phenomenal rebounding team, as displayed right there by Ojale. And it leads to a 2 for Sterling Brown. They are the best offensive rebounding team in the American Conference. 39% of their misses go back to them.
When you talk about rebound margin, 3rd in the nation, actually 2nd in the nation today, 1st in the American, and they've led the conference in the last 3 years in rebound margin. So this is something that SMU relies upon and they practice.
And Temple the last couple of years has been one of the worst rebounding teams in this league, but they hold SMU here to 1 and done. Dingle trying to pitch it back out, and no deflection. Another Temple turnover. Their 5th forced by SMU in the first 8.5 minutes. We're in an underdog town, right? It's Philadelphia, the city of great underdog stories. When we come back, I don't want to call it an award-winning segment just yet, but the tall and the short is coming your ways, and we'll tell you about it. Here we are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. SMU and Temple tied up at 12 apiece. The sports world is abuzz. The television world is abuzz. We've got the segment that you've been waiting for. The tall, well, no, the tall.
Oh yeah, you got to get this right.
I feel like I was confused for a second. I don't know if actually I was getting it right. The tall and the short of it. I'm glad we were able to, again, to make that distinction. But we're in the underdog city of Philadelphia, so your top underdog stories.
Well, the underdog rivalry I have in basketball, Texas Western. Those Miners who came from disparate and sometimes desperate backgrounds, they beat the Blue Bloods of Kentucky, an all-black starting 5. They opened some eyes and destroyed some myths. And when you talk about pop culture, how about the Mean Machine? You got convicts who are despaired and depressed playing against well-fed and well-oiled guards. And with Ray Nitschke in the middle, Joe Cap playing, who could have beaten them?
That's pretty impressive, admittedly.
You like that? I know you do.
I got to go with a couple that might be a little obvious for you, but the Miracle on Ice, of course, starts it off. What a phenomenal run when it was amateur players going up against the vaunted lineup of the Russians in 1980 in Lake Placid. Michael Ruzioni and Jim Craig leading the way. And, of course, Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, the late, great Pat Morita, teaching Daniel LaRusso, played by the incomparable Ralph Macchio, obviously, in 1984's The Karate Kid. Although the photo, I think, was from The Karate Kid 2, just so I don't get a bunch of tweets telling me that I'm misidentifying it. And I know Rocky's the obvious choice, but we didn't want to go overly obvious with our underdog story just because we're in Philadelphia.
No, I agree. We had to come out of the bag with something that was thought-provoking. And I'm sure we provoked some thought.
8 turnovers combined between these two clubs in the first near 9 minutes. Mark Williams is on the floor for Temple, the veteran 225-pounder for the Owls. Enechionia, good defense to recover by Ben Amelagu. Well, rivalry week rolls on Saturday. We've got 14th ranked Florida State going on the road to take on Notre Dame. By the way, Florida State started the night one back in the loss column of North Carolina for the top spot. And then, of course, game day is headed to Moraga, California for a matchup that I think a lot of people are starting to understand. I know they've been really successful the last 10 years, but people have started to understand how good St. Mary's and Gonzaga that matchup is.
Yeah, I mean, it's highly entertaining basketball. We don't get enough of it east of the Mississippi.
Whitman Rose throwing it down in transition to give Temple the lead.
Yeah, SMU kind of misfiring again. Far too many turnovers. They average 11 on the season. And right now, you know, they're on pace to turn it over a lot more.
And another strong defensive stand with Rose helping out on D. Last touch by SMU.
And a little nonchalant with that pass. And Rose obviously quick to the basket. You know, it's nice anticipation right there.
Three straight turnovers by SMU now. Temple trying to take advantage. And Achionia, though, turns it over. Strong defensive stand by Shemi Ojale on the coverage.
Yeah, we talk about the turnovers. Many of these turnovers are forced.
Yeah.
And so that means you're giving the defense some credit as well.
I don't want to call it necessarily sloppy play early, even though the turnover number is high. These two teams, when at their best, have been very strong defensively this year. SMU chief among that category in the country.
That was one where the defense made an easy play look very hard, and ultimately they came up empty, SMU did, because of the Temple D.
23 on the shot clock here for the Owls. In tight quarters to try to throw the inbound into, and it'll be another tough inbounding spot right in front of the SMU bench, but Williams gets an easy one.
Well, that play told you that guys are paying attention during the scout session, understanding the inbound play quickly underneath.
Nice rebound by Ojale off the Alston miss. Sterling Brown, this week's American Conference Player of the Week, finding Ojale and one.
And Ojale bounced up off that floor. Is not going to keep me down. And just a nice job, Sterling Brown, on the penetration. And the strength of Shemi Ojale. Better check that floor for some cracks.
And that's a big body at 235 pounds going down in Shemi Ojale. The officials are going to go over to the monitor. I wonder if there was some contact up above the shoulders that they wanted to look at, perhaps. Or maybe to see who the foul might be on.
Take a look at Brown with the ball fake. Again, gets inside nicely.
Yeah, there was some contact from Williams up above the shoulders into the head of Ojale. I mean, that's about as incidental as it comes.
And also, I think, you know, at this point in time, with the guys surrounding him, although Williams is the only one completely involved in that play, I want to make sure they call the foul on the right guy. A combination of both.
And I would think, based on what we saw, I would guess common foul against Williams, but perhaps the officials might deem it a little bit more than that, so they're going to rule it as a flagrant one.
Wow.
I was a little surprised at that. I figured in the process of trying to block the shot, there was some contact to the face, but they're going to rule that as flagrant one, perhaps ruling that there was no clear play on the ball.
Well, actually, I think they might be ruling it more so that it was excessive in the swing down. But I think Mark Williams is just getting penalized because he couldn't jump, couldn't get up high enough to get to the ball.
So not only is it an and one opportunity, but a couple of shots here on the flagrant one.
And just remember, in that foul, there is no element of intent. So whether or not Mark Williams intended to hit Ojale in the face or not is irrelevant. just whether or not the play was excessive.
But the language in the rule book is excessive or unnecessary, and that's what the officials deem for that contact with Williams. So 2 shots and the possession. So it ends up being 4 points right there for SMU Ojale. Plus you get the basketball, so an opportunity for a major swing past the halfway point of the first for SMU.
Yeah, these are the kinds of plays that could be momentum changers.
Well, they got a great look from Foster there.
If Foster makes that, it is, but you know, there's hope now. This Temple comes down with a purpose.
And Echionia gets a fantastic look, but it rolled off the rim. Comes SMU on the push again. And a 7-man rotation typically for SMU, trimmed down to 6 tonight without McDowell, as Brown misses. He is in concussion protocol in his day-to-day. They're hoping to have him back on Sunday for their game at home against Cincinnati, the second meeting between those two this year. Foster with the rebound.
Quick shots, particularly on the Temple end. You know, they're not getting the high-quality shots that they normally would after some ball movement. Somebody's got to exert some leadership out there on the offensive end for Temple.
And now Ojale beginning to heat up. He's got 9 already of the SMU 18. Third leading scorer in the American Conference behind Dedrick Lawson and Rob Gray of Memphis and Houston, respectively. Here is Dingle. And a late whistle from Joe DeRosa, but a foul on Ojale.
That's one of the rare times you'll see SMU on a straight drive allow points in the paint. They normally do a terrific job of closing off that lane. You may victimize them occasionally on an offensive rebound or sometimes a straight post up on individual play, but drives to the lane, they close pretty nicely.
Dingle a 72% shooter for the top free throw shooting team in the league at 72.5%. Very high percentage collectively.
The problem is they don't shoot enough of them.
Only about 17 a game.
Yeah, they're minus, actually in conference games, they're -7 with regard to opponents. Only they attempt maybe 14 free throws per game in conference games. Opponents shoot 21.
The first meeting, that was also the case. Temple shot 10 free throws. SMU shot 34.
And it goes back to that reliance on the 3 instead of challenging the defenses.
Inside of 8 to play for the first half. Shake Milton seeing a double team. Moore with a beautiful backdoor for Foster. They've had 3 backdoor looks, but they've missed the last couple of tries.
And Jeray Foster is the guy. He's had a bunch of close-up opportunities, and he's missed them.
Mark Williams, though, gets tagged with the illegal screen, so another Temple turnover. SMU ball on the other side. They're the favorite coming in to Philadelphia, the home of the great underdog, Rocky Balboa. Go back to November of 2014, the last time Gino Ariema's team lost a game. They'll host SMU on Saturday on the ladies' side. That, if UConn wins, would be the 99th consecutive win. And then Monday night, SportsCenter with hits all day. SportsCenter will be live with Steve Levy from Campbell Pavilion after the game as well. Paul Feinbaum's show will be live on site with an SEC team in Dawn Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks in action. Dave O'Brien, Doris Burke, Carol Lawson, and Holly Rowe will have the call on Monday night for a potentially historic night. There's a backdoor that works for SMU, and Foster throws that down with authority.
And that came right out of a timeout. I think Tim Jankovic, sensing Foster losing some confidence, went right back at him and gave him one of the easier opportunities that he's going to see tonight.
It's a savvy head coaching maneuver. And Echionia misses, and Shake Milton nearly rescued it, but was out of bounds, so it stays with Temple down 5.
Again, this has kind of been open for Jere Foster pretty much all evening. A little curl around the high screen and going straight to the basket. Temple doesn't offer any resistance, no ball pressure, nor anyone to prevent the ball from getting to the rim.
Rose taking an aggressive lead of the rim. Slapped alive and last touched by Rose. So it'll be SMU basketball. So we got a great doubleheader tonight. North Carolina, Duke, and then Oregon, UCLA, part of our Sonic Blockbuster. Then SVP takes over SportsCenter at night. Might see one big thing, might see some bad beats. Who knows tonight? But they're going to recap Duke, North Carolina, and Oregon, UCLA. That'll be on ESPN after a fantastic West Coast showdown. Ben Moore on the jumper off target. Got the excellent offense of UCLA and a really solid defensive Pac-12 team in the Oregon Ducks in their second meeting.
Yeah, second meeting, but that's at Pauley as opposed to up in Oregon,
where they've won 40 in a row in Eugene. Now the longest home court win streak in the country after Kansas lost this week to Iowa State at home. Alston's three would not go, and it's run down by a Meligu, and despite the tiptoe, he did have perhaps a shoelace on the sideline. Very close, but another turnover to give it to Temple.
And you're wondering how maybe this 9 p.m. start has affected both of these teams. I mean, we've seen some real brain lock plays by both guys. You know, they're probably accustomed to playing at 7 p.m. This game is over, and they're back in the dorm studying right now.
That's right. Of course, right, just studying up. 13 turnovers combined, make it 14. Foster on the push. Sterling Brown, the conference player of the week, with a nifty maneuver to make it a 10-1 SMU run.
That's right, first time in his career coming into this game. Over the last 2 games, averaged 21 points per game, had 27 against Tulsa.
It was his career high mark for Sterling Brown, the senior out of Maywood, Illinois. Another Temple turnover. Corralled by Milton, trying to feed it underneath to a Meligu, and he smartly brings it back out, and the freshman commits the foul.
Let's take a look very easily. It's just another play where the passer wasn't paying attention and the defense was. And on the transition break, Sterling Brown just demonstrating his athleticism.
Now 9 turnovers for Temple. Boy, it looked like a bad slip over there for Shake Milton.
Slip. He got hit in the face.
He went down to the deck, I guess, after the contact, but Shake Milton was holding his face.
Yeah, it looked like he got clotheslined.
He's kind of frustrated going off the floor. I wonder if maybe he was thinking there should have been a foul there.
Oh, absolutely, and that hurts. Looks like his jaw's bothering him. But he did. He got clotheslined, and I don't think anybody saw it.
So that will bring the officials back over to the scorer's table. Joe DeRosa, Ron Groover, Olandis Poole is our officiating crew tonight. We have seen one flagrant foul in this game already against Mark Williams. So
right there, that's
the arm extended by a Flackby. I just saw that slip down by Shake, and I thought, all right, well, lost his footing or something. Well, no, he went down because of the contact from Ernest Flackby.
Now, to me, it's important to see where a Flackby's vision was. If he's looking at his man and he was about to put his hand up in a defensive position, that's inadvertent. But if he saw Milton coming, then that's got to be a flagrant. Or he could sense he was coming. Boy, that's going to be a tough call.
And again, as you correctly pointed out the first time around when we had a flagrant foul, you can't judge intent. Intent is not even in the language of the rule book when it comes to flagrant fouls. So it's not as if you can say, well, he clearly looked like he, wanted to make a move or something. You can't judge intent in this situation.
But the problem is in this one, You know, if you're just putting your hand up to defend your guy and your opponent runs into it, that's something else. And I don't know what he's doing there. Because I don't think he ever saw Milton coming around, but sticking his arm out there, this is a tough one for the officials to decipher. And inverting.
Yep, we just got a signal from Ron Gruber saying nothing. And not that the contact perhaps didn't warrant it, but I agree with you. I just don't think there's anything that the officials can lean on that particular replay to absolutely say that there is a foul.
Yeah, it's a legitimate defensive play if you're getting your arm up, because as soon as his arm goes up, it goes straight to his man. So Shake just got shook inadvertently.
Yeah. A tough spot for Shake Milton. He was the 10th leading scorer in this conference at 14 per game. Good rotation for an Amelagu 3. Foster with the offensive rebound.
They do such a good job of getting position, particularly on the weak side glass, SMU. That's why they're an outstanding rebounding team.
Absolutely. Good dive on the floor by Alston. He gets tied up, and the possession arrow will give it to Temple. Good hustle that time by the sophomore from here in Philly, Alston. Well, Temple's offense will try to get going. They haven't had a bucket in over 6 minutes of game time.
I mean, right now, this is a tough atmosphere. That place stood out not only because of the hustle, but because it's so rare in a game that everybody seems to be sleepwalking, even the crowd. Somebody's got to do something to kind of excite this place.
Blackby had some position on the interior, and then it ends up being a foul call. So that's his first. You mentioned the 9 p.m. start tonight. Classes before 11 o'clock today were canceled at Temple because of all the impending weather, or the weather that
the threat
of the
I saw a lot
snow.
of sidewalk out there today.
Yeah, Philly got some snow overnight, but it was not nearly as bad as many people thought. But classes were canceled for a portion of the date. Then I think that deterred some people. It is frigid outside in Philly today, but again, the weather wasn't nearly as bad as I think it was made out to be initially. So I think that has hurt the crowd a little bit tonight in a typically good atmosphere, especially when good teams come into town. Ojale draws another foul. He's starting to pick things up here in this latter portion of the first half. A 7-point SMU lead, the Mustangs' largest of this opening stanza. Big South and SoCon in action tonight. And if you go down Carolina way, obviously we talked about Duke and North Carolina, 2 of the 5 winningest programs in the history of college basketball. Kentucky and Kansas played a great game earlier this year. And then behind those 4 blue bloods, there is Temple, the 5th winningest program in the history of college basketball. A deep, rich history in this great city for hoops. They love their hoops in this town. Shemi Ojale starting to heat things up. He's got double figures now, and he was on the bench for some of those Duke North Carolina games. Transferred from Duke, who sat out for a year and a half. And man, what a breakout season for the redshirt junior from Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, he spent the time building his body, working on his jump shot particularly, but also giving him confidence and developing a rapport with his teammates. Nice.
Absolutely awful pass by Shiz Alston Jr. Foster missed the layup, and all he can do is laugh about it, but Ben Moore is there for the putback. That was very bad from Temple. And Fran Dunphy is going to call a timeout. We're going to come back in 30 seconds as SMU is up double figures.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Continental Tire, for what you do.
It's back in Philadelphia, and Fran Dunphy calling a timeout after some very lackluster play offensively from Temple, and another turnover off a 10-second violation forced by SMU. It is 11 turnovers and 5 field goal makes for Fran Dunphy's team, and he's just trying to get this team some life right now. They are sleepwalking through the first half.
Yeah, and all you can do is accentuate the positive if there is any. Temple's got over twice as many turnovers as they have field goals made. They haven't scored a field goal in over 7 minutes, and they've gone 4 minutes without even putting a point on the board.
And SMU has put up 14 during that stretch. A 14-1 SMU run to go up by 11. Offensive foul. Sterling Brown will get tagged with it. Good job by a Flackby. Fran Dunphy actually said a Flackby is the best big man he's ever seen with taking charges. Good positioning that time from the sophomore from Ghana.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to be able to elevate and block shots, the next best thing is to take away the paint by positioning yourself nicely.
Much sharper press break that time by Temple. Flackby able to rescue it. Good rotation, and Echionia. That was a good look, just couldn't knock it down.
Yeah, just not enough opportunities for Temple because of all the turnovers. They haven't been able to capitalize on their possessions.
Ojale with a good look, and Echionia with a strong rebound. Last touched by Brown out of bounds. The 10:44 mark was the last time Temple had a field goal. Over 8 minutes without a score. Another somewhat soft pass, but Dingle was able to corral it cleanly. Alston. There's some decent looks, just the drought continuing for Temple on offense.
Yeah, and if you're not knocking down those threes, you got to find a way to get high percentage shots.
And Echionia with his second foul, and that will send Shemi Ojale back to the free throw line.
And if you watch Temple run their stuff offensively, they're not really looking for the high percentage. They keep passing it around looking for that three. And you live by it, and you wind up perishing by it.
This is not a big SMU team in terms of its height. Everybody on their roster is between 6'3" and 6'8". Now, they don't have a true big man, but part of their success on defense is their versatility and their flexibility, and with that lack of size comes that ability to be very flexible.
Yeah, athleticism, they've got length, and they understand where they need to be, and they have each other's back in a helping situation. But, you know, despite a 12, now 13-point lead, I mean, SMU hasn't been exactly pristine in this game. I'm sure there's a lot left to be desired for Tim Jankovic as well for his team, but at this juncture, he'll take this lead.
Temple, one game removed from a 46-point first half against South Florida, has now missed 8 straight shots.
They're looking for threes. This is, you can't do that. You're not connecting. Find a way to get to the basket. Find a way to challenge the defense.
Not a sharp take by Shake, and Rose is able to stay with it, and Quentin Rose has 6 in the first half.
And it's plays like that, you see the ball go through the basket, that'll help, you know, kind of reduce the angst when you're taking those shots, long shots, but you still have to find a way to get higher percentage shot if you're Temple.
They went 9 minutes and 22 seconds without a field goal. Well, Foster continues to miss from point-blank range. Here is Rose off the cut against Moore, and he'll draw the second Ben Moore foul. Now again, that is a factor tonight because of a shortened SMU rotation, a team that does an exceptional job of defending without fouling.
Yeah, man, Tim Jankovic told us, though, you know, he's not going to tell his team we're going to go zone because our bench is short, because he thinks that'll reduce their assertiveness and their aggressiveness, which they've had a great deal of success. And they're a team that fouls very rarely. 5th fewest fouls totally in the nation, 2nd in the fewest per game at around 14.6. So they know how to play D without fouling.
So Melagu comes in for Ben Moore. The only team that averages fewer fouls per game is a team you're going to see on Saturday night in Moraga, California. That's St. Mary's. Randy Bennett's team averages 14.5 fouls per game. One of the better defensive teams in the country.
And that's a great way to prevent, you beating yourself, putting opponents on the line and giving them easy shots.
Especially with such a good offensive team in Gonzaga coming in. Shake Milton with the left. Tapped out for Dingle. They can take the last shot, Temple. And despite all of their offensive deficiencies in the first 20 minutes, they have a chance to make this a single-digit game going into halftime. Big possession here. Rose, who leads the team with 7. Trying to split the double. The kick to Dingle. Well short. And that'll take us to the halftime break. SMU with 1 bucket in the final 11 minutes of that first half. Temple, rather, with 1 bucket in the final 11 minutes. SMU closes on a 16-4 run. SMU has cracked the top 25 for the first time this season, right behind Cincinnati for the top spot in the American Conference. They lead it by 10 at the halftime break. We send you to the studio. Chris Cotter, Carol Lawson, Dan Dockich. We're the hardest working folks.
Wendy's.
Getting set for the start of the second half at the Leah Corus Center. Rivalry week presented by Wendy's. You're watching the American Conference on ESPN. 10-point SMU lead as we get set for the start of the second half. Adam Amin, Len Elmore on hand. A lot of inauspicious numbers for both of these teams, but at its heart, SMU is a phenomenal defensive team, and defense was still the name of their game in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, defense was the name of the game, but a lot of cooperation from the opponent. And if this were art, this is not an Escher, mathematically precise, or an old master. This is like a Jackson Pollock, where Temple is just throwing the ball everywhere, and SMU capitalizing 11 points off those turnovers. Combine that with the free throws, and that's how SMU has really gotten to this lead. Temple's got to do a better job of handling the pressure. In fact, just a better job of handling the ball, period.
The numbers point to it. 11 turnovers for Temple and a surprising 9 for SMU as well. Just 15 combined field goal makes. 11 of SMU's 28 came off of Temple giveaways in that first half. And Shemi Ojale had 13 of SMU's 28 points. He leads all scorers. Temple
trying to change up a little bit. They go to zone. And SMU immediately, with a little bit of ball movement, gets a high percentage shot.
From Ojale, who's got 15 now. Half of SMU's points. He averages just a shade under 18 per game, already at 15. Again, SMU has won 16 of its last 17 games, and 6 in a row, with a big showdown looming on Sunday against Cincinnati. A foul called on Shake Milton. It'll be his first. And that will send Temple to the line with Shiz Alston Jr.
At the line, number 3, Shiz Alston Jr., shooting 2.
Levon Sean Alston goes by Shiz. His dad was a Temple stud who played with Aaron McKee in the 90s. Aaron's now the assistant on Temple's staff. Aaron, of course, was the A-10 Player of the Year in '93 and a very good player for the 76ers as well when they were having a significant amount of success.
Shiz doing a nice job emulating his dad, who's a pretty good ball handler. Among the top 10 in assist turnover ratio, and Shiz is right there.
Contact made by a Flackby on Moore, so Ernest will pick up his second foul.
Foul number 24, Ernest Flackby. That's his second, team first.
Well, Temple, with their short bench, they've got 3 guys with 2 fouls, and I'm sure that goes into the formulation of trying to play zone here in the second half for Fran Dunphy to try to preserve some of these guys. But SMU, very bright team. They understand how to attack for the most part.
Milton off the second chance, and now a third opportunity with Foster snaring one.
SMU's so active on the glass, and that's why they're an outstanding rebounding team, particularly on the offensive glass.
Ojale bullying his way inside. Another offensive rebound, and Shemi will go to the stripe. And the offensive glass pounding continues for the Mustangs. Third foul on Obi and Echionia.
That's just too many opportunities, and for a team that's as efficient as SMU, you know, giving them 3 shots at it is going to spell doom for Temple. And they don't even look that active. It's like they don't want to play zone. They stand around when the ball is up on the rim instead of attacking the ball.
Now 16 for Ojale, who had 16 on the road at Tulsa in their last contest.
And there's a full court pressure again. Looks like a 1-2-2.
And it forces another Temple turnover, and Foster throws it down.
Trey Foster, for all the good looks he's getting, and they keep feeding him, and he's ultimately going to deliver, as we saw there. Too good an athlete to keep misfiring on point-blank range.
Now the largest SMU lead balloons up to 14 on the game. Dingle for 3. There's a 3-pointer. Temple went 3 of 14 from downtown in the first half.
And what the Owls have to realize is that you can loosen up the defense with that 3, but you're not going to get back into this ball game by shooting it. You know, you're going to have to diversify your offense.
Shake Milton draws the foul. The third on a Flackby.
Just take a look right here. That's just a telegraphed pass. And so good in transition, converting from defense to offense is SMU.
Shake Milton at the stripe.
I don't know what I say, telegraph, text? What are we talking about these days, man?
Yeah, they Morse coded that pass, obviously. I mean, we've pointed that out multiple times, though. There have just been some lazy looks at times from Temple, which is, again, surprising considering Fran Dunphy's teams are very typically sharp clubs. And there have been a lot of telegraph passes, just passes that have been so distinctly clear where they're going that it's that much easier for SMU to jump the lanes. Dingle again. Good again. Daniel Dingle, 6th in the American in 3-point shooting, has knocked down his first 2 tries of the second half. Remember, he's coming off a career game, 22 against South Florida.
And he was 6 of 7 from beyond the arc in that game.
Ojale takes one and answers. And Shemi Ojale has 20 of the 39. 9th time this year he's had 20 or more. Foul underneath the rim called on the floor. Ben Moore got a little aggressive. They'll pick up his 3rd foul.
Actually, I think they made the call.
They think they might have changed it.
Trey Foster.
Yep, that's a break.
Ojale just out of triple threat. Just knocks down that 3, even with a hand in his face.
Correction, the foul's number 3, Sterling Brown.
20 points, the rest of the club with 19 so far. They actually went back, by the way, and changed the foul again. So the 3rd different Mustang on that possession picked up a foul. It ends up going to Brown, his 2nd. And Echionia, an offensive rebound. Blocked by Ojale at the summit, and here comes SMU. Shooting for its largest lead, a Milton 3. And it's rebounded by an Echionia. Good physical rebound inside by the junior.
And that's much more like it as far as attacking rebounds in the zone. You don't have time to block your man out. The ball goes on the rim. You got to go get it.
Dingle with a bit of a quick trigger step back. He was hoping for a foul call or maybe a deflection, but not the case. Kind of rushed that shot.
This is no time for a heat check.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get good shots to get back into this ball game. Down 13.
And now it's 15, the largest SMU lead.
Sterling Brown.
Brown with 8 points. Here is Dingle. Alston, the tough step through. Good follow by a Flackby for his first points of the night, and he draws a foul.
And that's one guy on Temple's team around the basket you cannot sleep on. You got to make sure you account for him. And in this man-to-man, on the penetration, everybody goes to the penetration. Ben Moore totally forgets to block out a Flackby.
It ends up being the third foul on Moore at the 16:01 mark. And now a Flackby makes just about half his free throw attempts. Banging off the rim. Lonnie Moore nearly got the best of Ben Moore there. That takes us to the under 16 timeout. Shemi Ojale is still the stud in the story for SMU so far.
And they certainly relied on Ojale to put points on the board throughout this year. So improved is he and so confident.
SMU up double figures. They've led by as many as 15 here in the second half. A 13-point lead. SMU, which was ineligible for the postseason a year ago, spent most of the season in the rankings last year, but their first top 25 ranking came this week. So now it's Cincinnati at 11 and SMU at 25. Those two teams, again, as you mentioned, will square off on Sunday. But over these last 3 seasons, this has been an incredibly prolific SMU team, going from Larry Brown now to Tim Jankovic, 3 straight 25-win campaigns, and now sitting at a 20-4 mark. They've won 6 in a row and 16 of their last 17. Only 1 loss in that stretch, coming on the road at Cincinnati by 2.
And they're doing it with defense and rebounding, as we can see right there. You know, outstanding, nationally ranked. And those are the effort elements right there that keep you in just about every game.
The only 2 teams that have averaged fewer points per game allowed in college basketball this year have been Virginia, number 1 in the country. No surprise. That very solid Tony Bennett-led pack line defense, which was very good against Louisville on Monday night. And second is St. Mary's, the team that game day will see on Saturday hosting Gonzaga, a very good offensive team. So those are the only 2, and if that's the barometer, if that's the baseline, SMU is up there with teams like that. And again, a team that probably isn't talked about enough right now, SMU.
And equally as important is the fact that we talk about Virginia, we know that they're outstanding defensively, but some of that is also tempo as they limit possessions. St. Mary's not as much, but this SMU team, you know, they're scoring in the 70s.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not like they're holding the ball and reducing possession.
They can score it when they're at their best. But here, Foster gets tagged with an offensive foul.
Yeah, Jere Foster, who's usually pretty good around the basket, having all sorts of problems. You know, he has missed like 3 or 4 layups. You know, obviously charging, going to the basket. You know, sometimes you get out of sorts, you get out of rhythm, and those things happen. He's got to find a way to knock himself back into it.
For Foster, it's his 3rd game back after missing the UCF game due to an injury. Here is Alston. Knew it was off target from the start. And in traffic, Foster contributing in a different way, getting a rebound.
And Alston as the point guard, that shot clock gets under 10. Instead of launching, he's got to be able to put it on the floor and take it to the basket. See what happens here.
What a pass to Rose! Shiz Alston on target and on time for the freshman to throw it down.
And that time he got back into his point guard mode. Excellent find from half court.
First signs of life from Temple here in the second half, and here comes Rose off the turnover. Quentin Rose had it blocked, but it is a goaltend. Rose into double figures, and it's a single-digit game.
Well, there's no quit in Temple, as evidenced by this. Not only are they doubling and trapping, but from half court. Alston and Rose connect and head all the way up. Eyes totally on Rose, streaking down that right wing. And SMU taking their foot off the pedal for a moment. On the road particularly, you just can't afford to do that. Not against good teams.
And Meligu into the paint. More of the offensive rebound, had it stripped, but a foul. Rose picks up his third.
So we talked about it time and time again, doesn't always show up in the stat sheets, but Ben Moore finds a way to help his team, whether it's stem this momentum by Temple, by corralling.
7 rebounds tonight. So as you mentioned, he had a double-digit rebounding game the other night. He added 5 assists. Even though he wasn't scoring, he is the guy who's going to contribute in just about every possible way. He did go over 700 career rebounds tonight as well. Moore. Alani can't hit the 3, and Ben Moore comes down with his 8th rebound of the evening. Milton on the deck. It is a blocking foul on a Flackby, his 4th, and Shake Milton with a chance at a 3-point play.
And that's a perfect example of what I said. A Flackby is not a shot blocker. He tries to play the angles and take the path away from the driver. And you see Shake Milton stepping in. I guess the officials' rationale is that Flackby got set prior to, or didn't get set prior to Milton taking off, and I wasn't sure where his feet were on the restricted area.
Milton with the free throw miss.
I assumed that he was outside of it, but he wasn't set before the offensive player took off.
Rose had it stripped, and it was an Meligu foul on the reach-in. It'll be the first on Meligu.
Ben Meligu, that's his first. Team foul number 5. The line is number 13, Quentin Rose.
So Rose has been very aggressive so far tonight. In double figures, leading the way for the Temple Owls.
And these little spurts by Temple, and we've seen them, you know, kind of get a little streak from beyond the arc. That should put SMU on notice that they can't relax in this game.
Yep.
You know, they can't think that 11-point, 10-point lead is comfortable, especially not with 13:39 left.
Rose with the split at the line.
And by the same token, puts Temple on notice that they continue to exert that effort and play smart. They can get back into this ball game.
Ojale. Rose came over off the weak side for the rejection. Mike Robbins, the former walk-on, now on scholarship, who hasn't played in quite some time due to an ankle injury, is on the floor. Alston knocks down a 2. And Temple playing with a little bit of tempo now. Back within single digits. He's taken 10 shots for Alston to get into double figures, but he's there. Ojale for 3. Shemi Ojale with his 3rd triple. And he's continued to have the big night tonight.
Just like that, man. You watch SMU go to their best, and their best delivers.
19 the first time around, 23 tonight. Mike Robbins, who's missed the last several games with an ankle injury. As a matter of fact, he hasn't played since the last meeting against SMU. Just his 12th game of the year, and he buries a 3 cold off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, he shot that like he's been playing the last 10 minutes of the ball game. Some guys just come off the bench firing.
Brown, no. Here comes Temple. The lead has been as large as 15. And this is as close as Temple has been since the lead bulged out that far. Dingle saw just enough of an alley to take it to the rim, but it rattled out.
Still, if you're Temple, you gotta love the assertiveness. You know, guys are not settling for the 3s anymore. If they come as part of the offense, fine, but they're taking it to the basket, as does Shake Milton.
Yep. So good around the rim. He's got 5 already in the second half after 2 in the first.
You know, we talked about Temple having to diversify their offense, and they're doing just that. And it's paying off. Now it's the defensive time for them.
Alston knocks down the 3. And now Temple is within 8. They've scored 23 already in the first 9 minutes of this half after 18 in the first. Ben Moore got into the air, came down and traveled. Temple picking it up offensively, and they've had to turn to different guys. Robbins has made a 3, and Shiz Alston Jr. has a couple of buckets in the second half.
I'll tell you what, Temple back in rhythm offensively. Now they can understand they can have to win this game on D.
The number 2 team in the country, Chris, is about 17 miles from here. That's Villanova, but Gonzaga, the only unbeaten team left in college basketball. You know, you were talking about that UCLA-Oregon game. So the top 2 most efficient offenses in the country are both in the top 10 on your screen right now. UCLA, most efficient, and that means the most points per 100 possessions. And then second right behind him is Gonzaga. The one difference I see is Gonzaga plays so hard at both ends of the floor, and UCLA, frankly, just does not. They don't really lock down on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, UCLA appears to have the mentality that, you know, we're going to increase the number of possessions, and if we do that, we're going to outscore you. I don't know if that's a formula you want to live by, and right now Oregon has proven that to be faulty.
Dylan Brooks, who had that thrilling game-winning shot up in Eugene in the first meeting. He's led that balanced Oregon attack, as they were telling you about. Double foul here called by Ron Groover. And I believe it was Rose and Brown.
Yep.
Yeah, double text here thrown out there by Ron Groover. Yep, going both ways there. I wonder if there was a little bit of jawing unnecessarily, maybe a little bit of extra physicality coming up the floor.
Well, I suspect that nipped it in the bud.
Yep.
The seniors should know better, and the freshmen should be intimidated by the tech.
Yeah, there's a slight juxtaposition in the amount of games played in the careers of those two, Brown and Rose. As Foster raises up, there is Brown saving it, keeping it alive with an offensive rebound. He was hoping for a return pass and a second look.
And he just outfought Shiz Alston, who was, again, a little lackadaisical going after that ball. You can't do that in this defense.
Meliga with the left and rebounded by Dingle. Dingle with that trap coming, saves it to Robbins.
Here's a guy that's been really quiet, and that's Chionia, a guy that Temple really relies on to stretch the floor. 3 points.
Here he is in the post against a somewhat smaller Foster. A tough look, but a smooth one from Chionia. He's got 5.
And I suspect after that he'll have a few more touches.
This is as close as Temple has been since they trailed by as many as 15. Shake with the hesitation. It'll be 14 on the shot clock for SMU.
You know, the thing about Temple's offense and their ability to get back in this ball game has everything to do with being a little more focused and pinpointing where they want to get the ball. And more importantly, they haven't turned the ball over.
They had 11 first half turnovers. Only 1 so far in the first 11 minutes of the second half. Big change. Shot clock down to 2, and Sterling Brown playing his 126th career game. Very much looked like a veteran with poise there. He's into double figures.
Poise and a sleight of hand. He had everybody on Temple's team fooled. Chionia trying to work on the post against Shake Milton, but he's not really aggressive enough, allowing Milton to jump in front of him. Now he steps outside and kind of out of the offense.
Dingle a deep three. Ooh, man. Ojale went up high and then came down hard.
And remember, he did that in the first half and bounced back up.
Yeah.
I think he hit that one a little bit harder.
It felt a little bit more impactful that time. My goodness.
I think the floor held him down just a little bit longer. That's a big, strong guy, and you know when he's hurting, you can tell.
He drives and kicks. Shake with the drive, left it short. Good job by Robbins to get position, and then Foster came over the top for the foul. And both teams are in the bonus. A 1-and-1 the other way on the other side for the senior on scholarship now. 7:54 to play in an 8-point game in the American.
Wendy's.
SMU's lead has been as big as 15 here in the second half. Temple has climbed to as close as 6 here in the second. Right now an 8-point game. More rivalry weekend action coming up. Big contest, and maybe Gonzaga St. Mary sticks out among all of them in terms of the rivalry and the heaviness of it. But don't forget Cincinnati and SMU Sunday on ESPN for the top spot in the American, this time from Moody Coliseum, where SMU is 14-0 this year. We saw the first meeting up in Cincinnati. It was a thriller. It ended up being just a 2-point game.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati with their superior rebounding and their added offensive power. You know, we talk about SMU, and, you know, from an offensive standpoint, they'd be right up there vying for #1 in points, field goal percentage, etc. Except for, you know, for the most part, Cincinnati's newfound ability to put the ball in the basket with frequency.
Kyle Washington had a big night last night in a 10-point win against UCF. And Taco Fall, 14-11 for Kyle Washington. It's 15 wins in a row now for Cincinnati.
Undefeated in the American.
They are 11-0. SMU is 10-1. In conference play, the 25th ranked Mustangs have seen their lead trim back down to 6 on the road in Philly.
And that's why it's so important for Temple, this win at home, if they could find a way to do it. Shemi Ojale is saying, not so fast, my friends. But if they could find a way to do it, obviously, you know, they can kind of get back into the NCAA tournament conversation. Very few opportunities in the American.
Alston reaches in and makes contact with Shemi Ojale, who will have a 1-and-1 opportunity after another 3 has put him to the 26-point mark tonight.
Well, this comes with the territory. If you're going to rebound strong, you got to find a way to protect yourself, particularly around the face. As guys will be looking to strip and steal. Ojale left himself kind of vulnerable when he pulled that ball down.
He misses a free throw for the first time tonight, and Amelagu still comes out with it. And despite the Robbins deflection, SMU will have a fresh shot clock.
I said before, Temple has found an offensive rhythm, not turning the ball over anymore and knocking down some shots. They're going to win this game or lose this game on the defensive end, and that's a huge mistake.
That last foul, by the way, I mentioned it was on Alston because I saw the reach in, but the contact was actually from Dingle initially, as you saw in the replay moments ago. So it's the first foul on Daniel Dingle. Shot clock at 5 for Shemi. Tough step back jumper. Tapped up by Amelagu, tapped up by Foster. Foster with a second chance, and off to the line he goes.
And there you have it, folks. That's SMU asserting themselves where their strength lies. That's on the glass. Always excellent position. Pogo stick athletes just bouncing back and forth, keeping that ball alive. And it obviously has paid off.
First time these two teams met, it was SMU plus 17, plus 11 tonight. The only teams with a better rebounding margin, North Carolina and Central Florida, which has 7'6" Taco Fall. Taco had a big night in that loss against Cincinnati as well. He had a double-double. Back to our point initially about the offensive rebounding specifically. SMU has 8 offensive rebounds in this half alone. .54, 5-45, back up to a 10-point game with 6:40 to play. Rose into a quiet stretch, got a good look but couldn't connect.
And you notice white shirts late getting to the glass for second chance opportunities. That's just not Temple's style.
Milton, well, he was looking for Benmore all the way and got into the air.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cardinal mistake, getting in the air and not knowing what you're going to do with it.
And Echionia for 3. An important Temple 3 to bring it back to 7 with 6 to play.
And Echionia saw that shot before it was even passed to him. He was ready, quick release, and that's what that young man's capable of doing, given enough opportunities.
Whistle and a foul called by Ron Groover.
Take a look at when the ball is passed to him in that corner. He's ready. You see Fran clapping frenetically. Let's go.
And Echionia with 2 field goals here in the second half. It is 1-1 here for Milton. And SMU missing some opportunities at the free throw line, but a turnover. Milton never got a clean look.
He actually lost it. He's wiping his hands. Slipped out of his hand.
Robbins on the cut. The kick to an Echionia. Extra pass from Dingle. And SMU able to recover. Dingle. Shaking to the rim. Rose, and a foul on the interior on the drive by Daniel Dingle.
Good idea. Dingle should have or could have pulled up a little bit early. Excellent ball movement, and you know, again, getting in the air. Foster does a nice job of drawing the contact. It is minimal, but it got the officials' attention.
Listen, hindsight's 20/20. That was really unselfish basketball for Temple, but you would have loved to see one of those looks have an opportunity there, and now the foul trouble mounting up.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, they knew they could get a better shot. SMU did a nice job of closing on the shooters, and that's why they continue to move the ball.
28 ties a career high for Shemi Ojale. And the lead up to 9 once again, and another Temple turnover on the Echionia traveling violation.
And who's in the middle of that one? Shemi Ojale. You know, he's having a whale of a game on both ends of the floor right now.
Ojale's career high, tying 28, is also tied for the most points scored by an SMU player this year. He did it earlier in the season against Albany. Tip loose to an Echionia. Numbers for Temple. Alston stepping through. Rejected by Foster. Mustangs have numbers the other way. Approaching 4 to play.
Good decision as Temple got back into the paint to protect quickly. And here's where you play to win. You know, you don't have high percentage shots. Stretch it out. Force some time off the clock and make Temple guard you.
Moore on the deck, and a foul called on Robbins, and it will be 2 shots on the other side for Ben Moore. SMU on the road trying to salt away another American win.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2017 John R. Wooden Player of the Year, and Mazda, driving matters.
To play SMU at Campbell on Saturday, but assuming they have that win, A chance for history on Monday night against Dawn Staley's crew. The last coach to knock off Gino Auriemma. Got to go back to Tara Vanderveer. The night in November in 2014 when Stanford defeated UConn. That was the last time. November 17th, 2014, the last time the ladies lost a game.
And that is unbelievable. Doing 100 anything consecutively and doing it right is a major accomplishment, let alone winning basketball games. My.
SMU trying to salt this win away. If they can finish it off, it would put them to 11-1 in the American Conference with a game against 11th ranked Cincinnati coming up on Sunday on ESPN. Right now a 10-point lead with 4 to play.
Yeah, we talked to Tim Jankovic earlier about the upcoming Cincinnati game, and was he fearful that his team would overlook Temple, you know, recognizing the struggles Temple has had in conference play. And he assured us, because he was so self-assured, that this team is too mature, too focused, and too bent on proving people wrong to ever overlook a team, particularly on the road.
Shot clock late at 5 for Ben Moore. Hasn't scored a ton, but man, some impactful points for Ben Moore in the second half, and he's got 7 on the night. Another big rebounding night, an important night on the defensive end for Ben Moore.
As we say, he's essentially the glue guy. You don't expect your 6'8" forward/center to be a glue player, but whatever's necessary for this team, he's the guy that gets it done.
Robbins can't connect on the second chance, and Shemi Ojale in the thick of things. His 9th rebound tonight to go along with a career high tying 28 points.
And now you look at Moore out top. He's going to trigger the offense.
He's essentially a 5. Maybe he doesn't have the body of a prototypical 5, but just about anybody can run the point, anybody can run the floor, everybody can shoot it. A versatile and flexible SMU offense. Ojale forced it up. Shot clock didn't reset, and Moore knocks it down, but not before the shot clock buzzer had gone off.
Yeah, SMU not cognizant of how much time remained on that shot clock. And I think, you know, the officials want to take a look and see if it even, because it went by kind of fast. We didn't even notice it.
Trying to see what Joe DeRosa was mouthing to his fellow officials.
I think they were taken by surprise as well. And, Joe DeRosa assured everybody nothing untoward happened. No mistakes. Temple ball.
Here is Dingle for 3. Foster with the rebound. Robbins applying some pressure, but here comes SMU up a dozen. 2 minutes to go here in Philly. Sports Center coming up when we're done. A little bit of a foot shuffle there and a turnover by Brown. Rivalry week rolls on this weekend. Presented by Wendy's. Florida State, by the way, tied now for first in the ACC with the loss by North Carolina. They'll go on the road to South Bend. Mike Bray's team, so tough. And then Saturday primetime presented by AT&T. Gonzaga St. Mary's to close out what will be a fantastic Saturday of college basketball. A great rivalry game. A lot on the line for the currently undefeated Zags, who are playing tonight on the road at Loyola Marymount.
Good defensive play on the other end by SMU, and that play might have just taken the heart from Temple.
Brown for 3. And an offensive rebound for Ben Moore, his 11th rebound of the night tonight.
How many times have I said it throughout this evening how active SMU is on that glass? They track down rebounds.
And Foster might have just delivered that dagger to go up by 14 with 65 seconds to go. Dingle for 2. And Fran Dunphy will use a timeout. 57.1 to play. 12-point game. We'll step aside here in Philly. You'll see 3 playoff teams in our doubleheader tomorrow night, at least how the standings look right now. Pacers would be the 6th seed. The Wizards would be the 3 seed. The Bulls would surprisingly somehow, and I live in Chicago, I don't know how, but there would be the 7 seed. Phoenix struggling right now, but those are the 4 you're going to see tomorrow on ESPN. NBA Countdown, charged by Mountain Dew, starts it up at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And the Wizards are for real. If you guys haven't watched them, they gave Cleveland an absolute battle earlier this week. Milton for more, and some highlights to close out what looks to be an SMU victory.
Well, we mentioned it before, SMU's so good defensively, but more than anything, it's their rebounding, gives them second chance opportunities. It's their precise execution for the most part. As I said, in the first half, they weren't necessarily pristine, but they shored it up. And Temple finally got their rhythm going, but they just could not stop SMU, who also had a pretty good rhythm.
You see the next 5 for SMU. On the road at Houston and UConn.
You know, despite UConn's woes, that's not going to be an easy game.
Nope.
And Houston is never easy. You know, in-state rivalry, plus that Houston team can put points on the board.
Damian Dotson, what a 3-point assassin he's become this season. Shemi Ojale with a career-high 30-point night to go along with 10 rebounds. What a double-double on the road for a shorthanded SMU team when they needed it most on what looked to be a less than stellar offensive night at times. Shemi Ojale puts up 30 of the 66 for SMU this evening. And the Mustangs will win their 17th game in their last 18. It'll be 7 in a row. They'll be 11-1 on Sunday, and the Bearcats will come into Moody Coliseum at 11-0 on ESPN Sunday. That will be one you're going to want to tune into, part of our journey to the tourney. 66-50, the final score. SMU knocks off Temple. The Owls fall to 4-8 in conference play. For Len Elmore, our fantastic crew, Adam Amin saying so long. It's been a fun night in college basketball tonight. Enjoy the rest of Rivalry Week. We send you to Sports Center. Nicole Briscoe, Kevin Connors. Guys, it's all yours. Enjoy it.